I must tell you that education is the catalyst to development. All over the world, graduates who should produce the clothes they wear, people who will build their roads and bridges, people who should refine their oil products for a country that has one, people that should convert raw material to useful ingredients. That's what education is supposed to do. Education is not just giving us certificates. Unfortunately, that's not happening in Nigeria. What we are producing are people that are certificated. You just give them certificate, they are certificated. But if you look at our road industry, Julius Berger, is it Stalini, RCCG, most of those are not Nigerian companies. Now, if you go to those countries where you have those modern industries, do you find Nigerians there? Are there Nigerian companies there? These are the issues. I was watching television one day and I saw somebody say that they discovered temperature of 4 billion. And the question I asked myself, what do you use to measure such temperature? I'm trying to tell you the extent of the direction education is going. Education is not just reading and writing now. Unfortunately, Nigerian education has not changed from the traditional aspects up to today. That's where the problem is. I did a postdoc outside the country and there was an area I did during my postdoc. When I came here, I gave it to a student. He did his master's. I had nobody to examine him. Our curriculum is very outdated. So when they say standard of education is falling, it's not with relative to time. It's with relative to place. Our education is not matching what is happening elsewhere. That's what is happening. It's not because our students these days are not as good as those produced in the 70s. That's not the issue. What you need now, the other day we were in South Korea and people were talking about robotics. These robots, you see, some of these toys you see are produced in their secondary schools, not in their universities. That's the basic, you see, what we are doing in this country. If we have to be more serious, then we need to face our education. Now, when we are talking about templates, what is happening at the University of Nigeria cannot be different from what is happening in another sector in the education system. Are you understanding? And I've stayed there for only 3 years. It's not enough to change everything, but anywhere I go, I preach it. I talk about it. Education that is research-oriented. Are you understanding? That's what I'm looking at. It's not just giving out certificates. People come to school, they come out of school, there's nothing to show for it. They are not creative, no ingenuity. The other day I brought somebody here to talk about critical thinking. How can people be thinking outside the box? The person who made jeans you're using, Levi Strauss, was an Israelite. Today, it was produced for the oily industry. What I mean by oily, those oils that, those industries that produce a lot of oil. Are you getting it now? So that they can be absorbing it. But today, even presidents are wearing jeans. That's creativity. That's what we are thinking about. People are talking about modeling different systems, theoretical aspect that before you even come to the practical aspect. And one dysfunctional area in the education system, we are too theory laden. No practice. We are not practically oriented. I've argued that we can make our practicals to weigh more than our theory. Even in exams like WAEC and senior school certificate examination. If that happens, you can allow the student to go in with their books. Are you understanding? Let them copy from the book and know how to, but let them carry the practical out so that people will know they can do these things. That will give more value to our education. And these days, people talk about miracle center. They will cease to exist. If theory is going to take 20 or 10%, nobody will want to go and be cheating. University of Abuja was established as a dual mode institution. Dual mode means, just as we are teaching students now, we teach that. Then we also have distance learning. We are the first university that was certificated by the federal government to run open and distance learning. That's why you see, every time we are talking about that, it's one aspect of our life that we cannot give up. It's our mandate. Education through face-to-face contact is becoming less valuable because people are working in different places. People are working in offices. People need to stay in their offices and learn. At the spare time, maybe when you come out of school, you can also read at home. There's something they call learning management system. So we are building a very strong attitude in terms of distance learning, such that you can be in UK and you want to learn about African culture. We give you lectures from our lecturers here, and you can be certificated as any person who has done face-to-face education. That's the first issue. So that's our mandate, actually, regular students. But one thing I also find that is not, we have so many courses that we are not doing here. Courses like mass communication, courses like archaeology, courses like geology, biochemistry. Those are courses that are traditional to any university. It's not being done here. And, well, maybe for politics, may open one university in one village, and they are taking 500, 800 a year. Give us a little more money to develop this department, open this department. We'll be able to take 2,000. The other day I was in Ivory Coast, and they said one university, their student population, normal student population, was 50,000. So these are the real issues. We need, if we have enough money to, because we cannot just talk about departments. You need buildings. This university was started in a primary school, and that has affected us very negatively. We have been managing. Although you can see a lot of structures are coming up. We need more structures. Then you have to recruit staff. Currently, we cannot pay the lecturers on ground. These are some of the things that affect our system. And so if people want to be serious about our educational system, they need to look at the structure of the existing universities and see how to expand them. With that, we'll be doing well. If you are talking about library services, you are going to talk about e-learning. Are you understanding? You are going to talk about subscribing to knowledge hubs, Elsevier, and the rest of them. You can have a plan. The functionality of that plan depends on how you attack it, how you pursue it. And that's why I talked about a research system. If you have people who are actively researching in these areas, then you don't have much problem. But if you are talking about maybe improving them, you need a lot of money. Education is very expensive. That's the real issue. And so many of those things, our strategic plans have always looked at that direction. Where there's usually gap is the funding. And so, it's not just having a strategic plan. Are you going to fund it? That's the first issue. One of the things we must come down to, we should try to build research universities. The other day we were having a meeting at NUC. I think when they were swearing in the new council people. And one of the ministers said, fund education. And that is, to me, is a very critical matter. He also mentioned that if we are not careful, universities will soon produce imams and pastors. You know what that means? Some of the conventional universities, universities of agriculture, the non-conventional universities of agriculture, universities of science and technology that we have all over the country, I think we have 3 or 4 of them, and the University of Agriculture, 3 of them. Many of them are now running courses they are not supposed to run. You know why? They are not focused on research. Focused on research and university is doing well. You may not be thinking of, they are looking for money. So they want to take students who are reading law, students who are doing sociology, just like other universities. Then why are you a specialized university? If you tell them, they say we don't have equipment. I've never believed that. Because the man who started that course initially, who taught him? Many of these equipment can be fabricated. There should be a relationship between the lab and the market. You design something as an engineer, and then you call the people in the industry. Please, we have this. Can you buy it? That's how universities grow. The other day we had a conference somewhere, and somebody mentioned that some universities in the US could generate as much as $32 billion a year. In other clients, it is universities that keep the government going. That challenge has never happened. In Nigeria, it is the other way around. And so it's not healthy for our system. If lecturers are busy doing their research, they will not even remember strike. Well, what maybe you may call achievement, I don't usually call them achievement because they are normal ways of doing things. If my friend has to carry that table, it's not an achievement. Nobody has carried it, so you just can't say it's an achievement. No. We are just doing normal administration. Now, for you to be talking about achievements, you should be coming where they say University of Abuja, they are coming up with top class research. When you go for exhibition, you see that what we are displaying is more than any other school. Are you understanding? And I can be calling that achievement. We are still building. But on the rough side of it, you can see buildings coming up here and there. Some of them, the central bank is the one building. Some others, state fund, some others, NIS. So we are trying to develop because we need places for our students. We are looking at hostel. Currently, we accommodate just around 35%, 40% of our students. We need more structures, and we are trying our hand. The people you saw that came earlier, they were the PPPP group. Let's bring private sector to come and develop hostels and other facilities for our students. And if possible, even staff quarters. That's what we are trying to do. But before I came here, promotion was a difficult issue. Today, we've promoted more than 100 people to professors. That class, we've done that. Associate professor, professors. What I think will make a university to be alive is the quality of research that is coming out of it. So I established a Center for Innovation and Research. It's trying to bring you some results. One of our staff here got a grant of £500,000. And you know that's a lot of money in the College of Medicine. Many of our staff are getting different grants. And with that, I think very soon, it may not be when I'm here, University of Abuja should come alive. If we can ensure that up to 80% of the staff here have a PhD, that will help our staff. But we are sending many to the African University of Science and Technology. Many of our staff are being trained there. Some are training in Malaysia, some in the UK, some in the US. We also allow some of them to attend conferences, both locally and internationally. One of the areas that is, a lecturer can brush himself or herself up when you listen to others speak at various conference venues. So we're also trying to do that. And from time to time, we bring people from outside to talk to them. Tomorrow, there's one white man you saw going out. He's coming to talk to our staff on politics, the Biafra war, and the rest of them. It's a white man. These are areas he has been researching wants to talk. I told you the other day we brought a military man, a colonel, to talk to our students and staff on critical thinking. So we have lined up series of lectures. There's a lecturer we want to bring in, I think he's in Nigeria, but he teaches in Sweden. He wants to come and talk. So there are some, currently we have some Fulbright scholars. One is Professor Uzonna. He's here in veterinary faculty, and there's another one in medicine. So we always bringing people here to talk to us as lecturers go out, and we keep training everyone to be able to discharge their duties very well. When I came here, I noticed that the gap between the students and the lecturers, the gap is very wide. If you bring students to yourself, very close to yourself, they will learn more. People talk about mentoring. It's almost absent in Nigerian schools. People learn by force. Mentor was the name of a person. He was a friend to Odysseus. So when Odysseus was going for his Trojan War, he left his son, called Telemachus, for mentor to teach him. If you have read Greek mythology. So we must learn to mentor the people around us. It's like a transfer of spirit. They are sitting near you. And whatever you are learning, the students will be learning it. And so if we learn to treat many of these children with love, as even though they are our children, we will cop many of these activities. Students get involved in those things. Some are frustrated out of school. They fail because they cannot learn. Because the way the teacher teaches is too complex. Well, let me also disagree with you. You say that the easiest way to diversify the economy is use of ICT. How? You are talking about ICT. How many companies in Nigeria produce computer? Are you understanding what I'm saying? The bandwidth we use for our internet, is it generated here? You know how expensive bandwidth is? Before now, each university was paying about 40 million to obtain bandwidth from either internet to in the US and other places. So first of all, and I've always argued, if we want to diversify our economy, let's get back to research. Diversification is not talked about orally. There is something the president said that I always tell my staff. Change must begin with me. Are you understanding? If we are serious in diversity, let's do research into how to utilize the raw materials we have. As far as you are just digging your crude oil, your mineral, and selling crude, you can never be reckoned with as a country. China, I'm told, has less solid mineral than Nasarawa State. But what has made China very thick is these solid minerals. That's what they use in microelectronics, computers and your phones and the rest of them. So you cannot be talking about ICT that you are not even a major player in. You are not a major player in ICT. You are only purchasing as far as just as you buy your shirt. That's why they are purchasing your computers and other things. So how are you going to deploy it to bring about the change you want when you are not owning what comes out in the ICT sector? Let me tell you. You know, many times they say Nigeria has money, Nigeria has money. I say, I read somewhere where somebody said, you know, Cuba, tourism alone gives them about 10 billion every year. Tourism. Do we have tourism in this country? Only a few people come to the major towns like Lagos and other places. I'm sure we are not making much out of tourism.